Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Brancato. Welcome to today's presentation, the Playbook for Tackling the Complexities of Government Contracting with CLM Technology. This webinar will explain in simple terms how your company can use modern cloud-based technologies to improve the management of its contracts with the federal government. The presentation will lay out the key problems faced in the management of federal contracts, how these problems are solved today by contractors, how workflows and processes can be improved with CLM, and where the technology could lead to in the future. And I want you to walk away with a concrete understanding of how GovCon-specific CLM technology differs from generic tech. There is something here for everyone, and whether you have plans to transition to a contract lifecycle management system today or in the near future, or whether you're just starting your CLM journey, I think you're going to learn something. As I said, I'm Kevin Brancato. I'm the Senior Vice President of Product Strategy at Technomile. I've joined Technomile to help contractors leverage technology to make their processes more efficient. I really look forward to presenting our vision for where they need to go. So here's the problem statement. Is your contracts department a cost that you must bear, or is it a driver of value for your sales and operations teams? I'm here to tell you that contracts management doesn't need to feel like a net drain on your organization. And technology exists today that can make your contracts processes more efficient. Now, managing government contracts is challenging and laborious for every federal contractor. And even a handful of active contracts is difficult to manage without a dedicated staff and process. And that staff often today rely on cumbersome spreadsheets to track details and obligations, keeping documents in file folders locally, or in a shared drive, or even the ultimate archive, paper. And a lot of CIO offices are trying to solve this problem with generalized platforms, Microsoft, Salesforce, you name it. You can spend today to meet today's regulatory framework, but you need to continually spend on modifications over time if you're going to build your own system. Some federal contractors have already adopted some type of technology to discover it's not really well suited to the federal market. And almost certainly it isn't set up to help you comply with agency-specific regulations. So let's look to see how contracts are managed today. We've considerable experience helping contractors improve their contract execution processes. And while they're all different, there are organizational similarities, such as the head of contracts reporting either to a CFO or general counsel, and subcontracts reporting to this contracts department. And aerospace and defense have even more complexity, with varying departments weaving together in complicated processes. And what that really implies is that there are a lot of challenges today and in the future. And contractors adopting a modern CLM have found the need for substantial change management assistance during the transition from those shared drives or spreadsheets and email. And especially those that have been the first adopters of this new technology in the federal market, they've had to forge ahead with those best practices instead of adopting those developed by others. Hopefully we can share those with you, and it will make it easier for those coming down the line. So what I want to present to you today is a playbook. What are the steps you need to take? What are the plans you need to have? And it's not all that difficult once you've gotten your arms around the problem, but there are a lot of pieces involved. And you may have heard me talk about capture cloud technology that can be used to enhance pre-award business development activities. But today's discussion is about how contract lifecycle management technology can enhance post-award contract activities. And when we say a playbook, it's actions you'll need to take to research, plan, prepare for, deploy, train, to use a new platform for contracts management. Almost everybody listening today is a contracting professional of one sort or another. Those of you who have worked for the government understand that the way that the government views contracts is often radically different from the way that contractors view contracts. There's a common thread between those, though. Both the government and federal contractors believe they spend far too much time mired in paperwork than ensuring that maximum value is extracted. A modern contract lifecycle management platform is cloud-based collaboration space, and it's focused on contract execution and getting value out of that execution. For federal contractors, it means a system that all the stakeholders at your company can trust to provide an accurate picture to status, performance, and compliance of all prime contracts and subcontracts. We've broken this out into several steps, what you need to do to be able to run this playbook. And the first one is talking about FARS and DFARS compliance. To ensure that compliance with those cyber, labor, and other contract requirements, contracting professionals need to track all the FAR, DFAR clauses, as well as unique clauses that are written into each contract and agency-specific clauses. And tracking such contract clauses has traditionally been burdensome with a lot of manual processes. However, a modern contracts platform allows for increased automation, easier compliance, allowing for the analysis of every CLIN, clause, subcontract, report, and deliverable upon receipt of a contract or modification or a contract closeout. Today, at the overall contract level, at the CLIN level, labor categories and rates, financial information, deliverables, and clauses can be tracked and reported. And a best-in-class CLM for GovCon makes it easy to ingest, identify, and track such clauses. And so you know when you're supposed to receive payments or to verify requirements, where you have to source domestic end products and the like, and whether even there are specific IDIQ ordering provisions that are required. Next part of the playbook, tracking data and deliverables. With a modern contract lifecycle management system, every single change made to a contract in the scope, duration, value, or timeline can be tracked. A contract in the system can start as draft, move to negotiated and awarded status before becoming active, executed, and closed out, all in the system. Traditionally, creating a contract and a tracking system would require a company's contracts team to enter a lot of information manually. Today, the largest companies are reporting and tracking contracts in detail, either by scanning and parsing electronic copies of contracts or having information routed from contract writing systems. Before or at award, electronic copies of contracts are ingested, and starting with a standard form cover sheet, every clause is captured. Now, for a contractor, this creates an unprecedented database of contracts that can be queried and reported on with automatic alerts set based on the specifics of the contract. Not only is it possible to see every single contract that has received a modification, say, in the past month, it's possible to see which contracts were modified with an additional clause added. It's possible to predict when contracts will be closed out in the far future. That is a considerable effort at some point where years later, all of a sudden, closeout actions need to happen. And to simplify internal and external communication, reports can be generated at the click of a button in pre-generated formats. And they're stored in whatever folder structure you all use and prefer. So this will provide one source of truth for contracts data. Every mod, every contract and task order that is won, every statement of work, every clause, every performance report and essential communications. But only those who need to know can access that data, and you'll be able to see who's accessed it from when and where. Another key aspect of the playbook is mitigating risk. If you've ever failed to meet the requirements of a contract, then you have seen that risk turn into reality. A modern contract lifecycle management system is designed to allow for visibility across the organization. So legal and accounting can work with contracting officers to prevent a fiasco before it occurs. The most proactive contractors are using this system to assess risk in real time. They're using recent historical contract performance to generate one or more risk scores automatically, both at the start of contracts and when modifications are added. Larger companies know the risks they want to track and have unique ways of calculating those risks. And they do that by being able to ping the source of truth that we've been building inside of the system. And you're able to quickly and accurately report on an individual contract or a collection of contracts. And by report, it's not just you're asking the questions. It means you have preset reports that can be auto-generated at a pre-specified time. And you can set the triggers and alarms so the reports are generated and sent automatically to inform the right decision makers and stakeholders when attention needs to be paid or when action needs to be taken. So for example, let's say you want to assess the risk of a new contract, and you can compare that to all the contracts you've had in the past with similar sort of characteristics. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but you can set it up to be able to look that way. Now, those are the sorts of features that are more into the future than are current, but some basic capabilities of that analysis are available today. And the real risk here is that there's a clause that you haven't seen. Take, for example, in C40, the Navy's preferred professional services and technical services contract vehicle, which tens of billions of dollars was awarded to thousands of vendors. Stashed away in that contract was a provision that required every task order to be posted on the winner's public website. And some folks didn't actually do that. That was a potential risk for the future. Next, connecting sell side and buy side obligations. Prime contractors need a system that supports subcontract budgeting, subcontract creation, approvals, document management, as well as notification and reporting processes. Managing both sell side and buy side obligations in one system allows an organization to more effectively manage risk and compliance as they establish partner and subcontractor agreements and seamlessly flow down clauses. You need to be crystal clear which FAR, DFARS, and agency-specific clauses flow down to subcontracts. A mandatory flow down provision means you can't change the text when you put it into a subcontract. You must put in the exact text, and you as a prime contractor will be held to account. Failure to comply can mean no new awards, problems with getting paid, or even termination for default. And finally, governance processes. Now, what we mean is be able to track a contract from initiation through closeout. A modern system will provide options for closeout of contracts, a series of checklists to ensure protocols being followed, and that information can be pulled in directly from the rest of the system, or can be done manually. What we mean is that you can use this information to inform new bids, and that you can go from contract closeout and all the information you've taken from your contracts and use that to inform your business development processes. Now, other than those governance processes, you have major Fedramp considerations. Many contractors are considering shifting a lot of their internal processes off-premise. It means you need to take into consideration the level of Fedramp that your organization requires, and you need to think about this up front because there are many more challenges when considering a Fedramp high environment, for example. In short, there are 3 impact levels, low, moderate, and high, and based on that impact, unauthorized disclosure or disruption of access could have on the organization. And the higher the impact level, the costlier the effort because of the additional controls that need to be put into place. And so there are several key considerations to sum up when considering technology for CLM. Let's assume I've been convincing and you decided you want a CLM system. Here are the questions to ask. Because you're going to look at your options in the market. You're going to set up your evaluation criteria. You're going to put a team together to evaluate CLM, and then you're going to set up on a decision framework. And so here are the considerations that team should put in mind. First, seamless workflow, because you want the contract system to be able to take a contract as written, convert it to data, and set up a series of workflows, alerting the appropriate people from sales to finance to projects to take the next steps. And ask yourself, does the system require re-entry of data? Can the system produce on-demand reports that I need to make for internal consumption and external requirements? Next consideration, features. What are the must-have features of a CLM for you? Well, that depends on your workflows and how you want that represented in the system. When you put a contract in the system, do you want the system to automatically break it apart, turn the sections, the clins and slims, clauses and conditions into data? And then how do you want that data corrected? Is it automatic error correction for values, dates, and words? And ask whether that system that you want, or you would rather have a manual review. Do you need to track every single FAR and DFARS an agency-specific clause? If so, make sure it has that. And when you're getting a request for a report, do you need it to be in your template? And as we just discussed, one of the key aspects of the technology is Fedramp, and make sure it offers the level of Fedramp you need. And same with security. CMMC, as you know, is an evolving practice, and this is difficult to cover in a very short amount of time, but make sure you have a partner who can help you there. And that's why we talk about vendor partnership, because this is not a technology problem alone. The complex part is taking people who have been doing the same thing for 10 or 20 years and getting them to change. Taking them into a room to break things down and figure out where the workflows and processes are. You may need a partner to help look extremely hard at your existing workflows and begin to document all the people and processes. And finally, investment. I encourage you to look at all the available options in the marketplace, both the all-in-one and the best-in-class. Contract lifecycle management is worth investing considerable time and effort up front, which is good because you'll need to. However, you'll be able to rely on a vendor that will continue to invest in the platform's technology involved, so don't be limited by existing technology stack. So thank you very much for listening in to the presentation about a modern CLM platform. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Kevin Brancato at Technomine. Have a good day.